Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for coming today. My name is Erin Friday, and I'm a co-lead of Our Duty. I'm also a licensed California attorney and a mother of a child who used to think that she was transgender. We are here today because California is about to vote on a bill that, if it passes, will make California the first state in the nation to find that parents who do not affirm their child's gender identity, no matter how absurd that identity is, whether it's asexual, autism gender, furry, cat gender, it doesn't matter. Whatever that gender is, if that parent does not affirm that gender, that parent is at risk of losing their child under a claim of child abuse. Make no mistake, AB 957, which will be voted on at 1:30 today, will expand and does expand such that any parent of any child at any age who does not affirm the gender identity of their child will be abusive because of 3 words in that statute: health, safety, and welfare. This is how Senator Wiener is sneaking this in and making it the law of California. Any parent, whether you're married or not, whether your spouse is in agreement or not, can be investigated by CPS, the police, the government, for not affirming their child. And what does that mean? What does affirmation mean? It means not just socially transitioning your child, not just using a different name and pronoun, but it means medicalizing. You, as a parent, can be deemed abusive if you refuse to medicalize your child. If you refuse to poison your child with cross-sex hormones. If you refuse to stop the natural body growth called puberty. If you refuse to remove your child's healthy breasts or genitals. These people, if they vote to pass this bill, will find parents abusive. It won't matter if your child is 3, 5. It won't matter if your child has a comorbid mental health issue. It won't matter if your partner has a mental health issue. You, as the non-affirming parent, will be seen as abusive. We cannot let this happen. We will not let this happen. And this is a nonpartisan issue. I am a Democrat of 37 years. This isn't right versus left. This is rational parents safeguarding their children. So I want to thank you for coming, and I'm going to introduce our first speaker, and he's going to talk real world. What is happening in our golden state? What are we doing to our kids? Adam Vina, could you please come up?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adam Vina, and I have not seen, held, or had contact with my son Aiden for over 2 years now. This time is made even more difficult with Father's Day and his 5th birthday around the corner. Aiden was a perfectly good little boy. He enjoyed going to the park, playing ball, and loved Spider-Man. At 2 years old, out of nowhere, his mother started putting my son in a dress and identifying him as a girl. Her family bought him makeup and rainbow shoes. When Aiden was the age of 3, he told me that his mom had given him a pink dress for his birthday. I did not support this and condemned, communicated my concerns with his mother. My rights as a parent to have these concerns for my child's upbringing was considered abusive and enough to have a restraining order placed against me. This is exactly what AB 957 will do. Every parent who does not affirm his child's gender identity, whether self-created or made up by another parent, will be found to be abusive, an abusive parent. This is crazy. The parent who wants to change the child's perfect body is abusive. My personal beliefs and my First Amendment rights were squashed because I didn't want my 3-year-old son wearing a dress. This is where the story of injustice within the court system begins. I refuse to affirm his new made-up gender, so the family court has been weaponized to remove my parental rights, giving me zero contact with my son for over 2 years now. I pay for his health insurance through my job, but I have zero access to his medical records or allowed to make health care decisions for him. Up until recently, I paid for private school tuition, but have zero decision making with his learning and have received no progress reports. I don't even know if my son is left-handed or right-handed. I do not know his favorite color or the names of his friends at his preschool. I am just a few miles away from him, but have been barred from making any contact. I have been completely cut out of my son's life for simply not affirming his made-up gender. I will not pretend with his ideology that has overtaken many institutions in the state of California. I am the canary in the coal mine. This can happen to anyone. Sorry, guys. No child or rational parent is safe in California. Bill AB 957 will charge parents like me with child abuse for refusing to affirm my son as a girl. As I stated before you today, my role as a father has been completely stripped away from me. I miss my son so much, and I will never stop fighting for him. When I last had contact, he was a very normal, happy little boy. These are the topics and ideas planted in his little, impressionable, and innocent mind. This is grooming by adults around him. I'm not opposed to affirming my child for who he is. I'm opposed to affirming an agenda that has come after my child at too early of an age. I stand here today as an example of what the state will be able to accomplish if AB 957 is passed. All parents will be exposed to the bias and state-supported agendas, and if you do not comply, you are facing losing your rights, and even worse, losing your child. I do not want one more child to lose contact with their parent, or one more family to endure the pain that I have felt. This is more than just to me. It is Aiden missing out on his father and his grandparents. All my family has been blocked from seeing him and letting him know that he is loved and deeply missed. I have to live every day wondering if my little boy knows that I am even thinking of him. No parent should have to suffer this way. I want my story to be heard. I want my son back. There are no words for the loss I feel every day for my son. If I can make a difference and protect children and families from this happening again, I will do so. My son's mother upholds the belief supported by the state, and because of this, I am labeled as a bad parent. The one who doesn't understand my child? This is not the case. I am very involved, present, and engaged father. I just happen to live outside an agreed upon and state-supported agenda. I believe my son needs time to grow into who he is becoming. At the age of 4, he hasn't begun to know himself and have that unfolded naturally for him. I will support him in who he is. This is not my issue. My concern is that the irrelevancy of the thoughts that aren't his own, and that is my right to decide for him as his dad. I will never give up on my son. Aiden is my hope. It is never give up on my son. It is my hope that my story becomes a tale that will regard to lengths this city will take to affirm gender to a way to an early age. My son should not suffer because of his geographic. He's placed by birth. His place by birth should be one that supports him and not diminish him before he has the opportunity to have a true sense of himself. I oppose AB 957 and ask our state legislators to stop this bill from moving forward. My son Aiden was not born in the wrong body, he was born in the wrong state.
These are real stories, guys. These are real stories that will be repeated over and over and over again if California continues to abrogate parental rights. Next, I'm going to invite my very good friend, Abigail Martinez.
My name is Abigail Martinez. It has been 3 years and 164 days since I lost my daughter. JD, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't miss her. Let me tell you how she died. She was murdered by gender ideology. She was taken from me by her Arcadia High School counselor, the Children's Hospital of LA, Department of Children's and Family Service of California, Court, the LGBT Rights Task Force, and she in the state of California. My daughter and I were preyed upon because English is my second language. And it's more. All of these groups place my daughter's gender confusion, her gender identity, above her mental health. All of these groups made me out of the be a villain because I want my 16-year-old to get the mental help that she needs. Instead of poisoning her body with testosterone, all of this group who should have helped Jaylee instead remove her from her loving home, her loving family. They are all responsible for her death. I am not ready to forgive them. I cannot forgive them because they are continuing to harm children and young adults. California is about to pass more laws that will make sure that there are more jails. The state of California is requiring parents to either transition their children or lose custody of them. I cry for the parents who will be like me, helpless to help their children. Parents are given one option: to treat their distressed child, affirm the child's gender identity, medicalize, and remove healthy body parts. I lost custody of my daughter when she was just 16 because I refused to call her a male name. That was my crime. A name and a pronoun. Even after I promised to call her a male name, it wasn't enough. The rights group and the school counselor easily convinced the judge that Jaylee will be harmed by me because I did not believe that she was a boy. The state wanted to control my belief. The state took Jaylee from my home, the place that she shared with her brother and sisters, a place where she was loved. I begged them to please give her the mental health treatment that she needed for her depression, a psych evaluation. My daughter's transition did not help her. She did not thrive. Her unnecessary time in foster care, where she slept on floors, did not have enough to eat, made things worse. A painful watch her decline, with no ability to help her because the court limited my time with her. Almost 3 years after the false claims of emotional abuse took my child away from me, I was absolved of any wrongdoing, but it was too late. The damage was done. My daughter was in such a mental and physical pain that at the age of 19 she knelt in front of a train. There was nothing of her left. My daughter was murdered by trans ideology. I'm here to plead with the lawmakers. Stop pushing gender ideology. Please, I don't want any parent to feel what I feel every single day of my life. Thank you.
Gender ideology knows no bounds. The gender fairy can arrive at anybody's doorstep. Kindergartners are being taught that they could be born in the wrong body. TK, 4-year-olds are being taught that the doctor might have made a mistake and that even though their genitalia tells them that they're a boy, they might actually be a girl. The faucet has been turned on for more kids to be gender confused because California public schools are pushing this lie. They are pushing it in secret behind closed doors with secret clubs that happen at lunch. They are cutting the parents out. This legislature refused to hear a bill that would have required schools to let parents, their loving parents, know if their child was gender confused. They wouldn't even hear the bill. Because why? Because loving parents were all bigots and hateful. It's a huge lie. They want to transition our kids. Each child is worth $1 to $1.5 million to the medical complex. And they are lifelong medical patients. They never get off the medical train. So please let me introduce our next speaker, Harrison Tinsley. Remember, these are real world stories.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Harrison Tinsley. I'm a single dad in California. I stand here against all of these bills that are passing that will harm children and parents who believe that their children are perfect just the way they were born, with the sex observed at birth. California Democrats are penalizing parents who want the children to grow up healthy with intact bodies. AB 957 should terrify every single parent in this state. Every bill related to gender favors the parent who will transition the child. The state is forcing parents to abuse their children or lose them forever. I've been fighting in family court my son's entire life. I didn't meet him until he was 15 months old, despite being in court the entire time, so I know how vindictive and unfair family court can be. My son's mom, since he was about 2 years old, has been trying to treat him as non-binary, putting dresses and makeup on him. In spite of my son knowing full well that he's a boy, if you ask him, he'll tell you, I'm a boy, and I love being a boy, and I just want him to be happy with who he is. Does this make sense to anyone? Are we losing our minds? I finally have half custody now, thank God, and I get a precious 3 or 4 days a week with him. But if AB 957 passes, I might not have that honor anymore. My son's mom can use this bill and claim with no evidence that he's not a boy anymore and I can lose custody of him. I can get convicted of a crime for telling my son the truth. We know how that'll play out because California is a trans-sanctuary state. Will it work both ways? If I say in court, look, my son says he's a boy, she's saying he's non-binary, does that mean that I'm going to win custody as well? I somehow doubt it. California hates regular parents and is waging war on families. Kids can't consent to these life-altering surgeries or hormones. Why should any parent be able to consent to the change in sex of their child themselves? If we allow this, we allow their lives to be ruined forever. There's a reason why we already all agree that kids can't buy alcohol, tobacco, guns, they can't get tattoos. We all agree upon these things. We know that they don't have rational minds fully developed to make sound decisions, but will alter their lives forever. Please be aware of some startling statistics, as narcissistic parents are transitioning their kids and claiming that they're trans as young as even toddlers, 2 years old. I've seen it firsthand. Many of these gender-confused kids are autistic, and they have mentally unstable parents as well. AB 957 requires parents to abuse their children in a manner that the state deems acceptable. They want to confuse kids, pump them with drugs, and remove their healthy genitalia. It's state-sanctioned abuse. What is not state-sanctioned is loving your child's natural body, teaching them facts and reality. Children believe in Santa Claus. A man on a sled flies on with reindeer to every single house in the entire world and delivers a present to each boy and girl. Kids believe in Spider-Man, Batman. Me and my son like to play pretend all the time that we're superheroes. He'll be Spider-Man, I'll be Spin or Venom, and we have a fun time. It's not like I'm going to take him to the rooftops and say, let's go swing from building to building, because I know that we're just playing pretend. Look at me. I'm an average California dad. I love my son with all my heart. I've been fighting for him my entire life, his entire life, and I always will. I'll never stop fighting for him. No matter what law California puts in place, they're coming for our children, and we need to take a stand against it. These California Democrats and Republicans need to stop this bill now, or we're going to lose a whole generation of kids. This is a moment in history. We need to stand together, draw a line in the sand and say no more. You're not taking our kids from us. Through the darkness, we will be the light. For our kids, we will always fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Harrison, for sharing your story and for loving your son so much. for working so hard, for spending all your money and safeguarding your child. He's worth it. They're all worth it. Next, I'm going to introduce Jennifer Kennedy. She's a licensed attorney, and she's going to talk about another bill that's being heard today, AB 223. And when you hear about this bill, you have to hear about it in the framework of how all of these bills are coming together. A little one over here, another one over here, another one over here. What are they designed to do? They were all designed to take our children from us. They were all designed for the state to control what we want to do with our children's bodies. So take it away, Jennifer.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Kennedy. I'm an attorney in Pasadena. I've come up for the day. It's important that we all come up here and make our voices heard. So not a lot of people maybe have heard about AB 223. And as Erin just said, these laws that have come out of the legislature this session, they're all working together. They are like train cars, stacked one after the other, with every single one aimed at our children, our relationship with our children, and our rights as parents. And they are barreling down the track at us. Today is the day we need to stop at least two of them. We need to stop another, AB 665, on June 20th. Because this train is not stopping unless we stop it. AB 223, which is going to be heard today at the end of the agenda, it's going to be the caboose today. AB 223 seems like it's a good idea on paper. It seems like it is something that you might want to do. And I'll tell you what AB 223 does. It wants to seal the requests to change a birth certificate of a minor and change that gender marker. And they want adults to be able to come into court and change the gender marker of the child and then hide it from public access. These records are typically public records. And the theory goes here under AB 223 that this bill sealing these public records is necessary to do what? To protect trans and non-binary youth. This bill sealing changes to their birth certificates and the gender marker on their birth certificate is supposed to protect them because, here's the theory, their classmates are going to Google on the internet and they're going to somehow find these court records that identify this change of gender, and then they're going to bully them, and they're going to bully them so hard that they're going to commit suicide. They're literally linking AB 223 to suicide of trans youth. Number one, there's no such data breaking out this type of suicide. Regardless, though, if you're a parent in the state of California and your kid's in public school, you know full well these kids are out. They are out to their friends. They are out to their teachers. Why? Because on the first day of school, they are asked, what's your preferred pronoun? What's your name? Do you have a chosen name or a nickname you'd like me to call you and you'd like me to keep secret from your parents? The kids are out to each other. They are over it. This is not an issue that kids are bullying kids on. This is what we call a red herring. And secondly, which kids are going to be Googling on the internet and be able to access? These are court records we are talking about. You cannot do an internet search and find court records. You got to know where the county they're filed in. You need to know the child's first and last name, etc. You need to know all kinds of things. Plus, you have to have a credit card. It's hard for even adults to find public records on other people. You need to often make an account and have a credit card. You have to jump all through these hoops. So that doesn't sound rational. This theory of the bullying and finding documents to bully people, that's also a red herring. So no bullying, no records to be found. What is the reason behind this bill? We need to look at the language. It's not protecting trans and non-binary youth. It's protecting the adults who wish to come into court and change a gender marker of a child and hide that, and hide what they are doing from the public. Also, this statute allows a non-related, an unrelated third party, such as an appointed guardian, to do this. Existing California law already lets just one parent make this change, or one guardian, a single individual, may come into court and change this child's gender marker to change and reissue a new birth certificate. That's the state of the law already. Oh, you can object if you're a parent, you're the objecting parent. You can file a motion to show cause. You've got to hire an attorney and spend money, and you're going to lose because your child was born in the wrong state, as Adam said so aptly. The problem here is the unrelated third parties that are going to be allowed by the statute to come in and change a child's birth certificate and seal it and hide it. Because if you think hypothetically, what about the 85,000 migrant children that our federal government has announced that it lost? Where are those children? Where are their guardians? Where are their parents? Who has custody of them? And what might this be used to take those children and change their records, and then suddenly those children are gone? We hear from Adam and Harrison about their very young children with their ex-spouses that wish to change the gender of their very young children. They would be able to go into court and change those records and possibly have those sealed and make them jump through hoops to try to find them and find what's the new name to even find this child if they were to try to take the child. AB 223 is the legislature with a solution to a non-problem. They are trying to create a problem in order to hook up this next train car in the train of all these anti-parent and anti-family bills. You have to have a good reason to shut off public access to public records. There's no good reason here, and there's a Pandora's box of bad consequences and severe consequences that can result not in hypotheticals, but in real harm to real children. We can come up with all kinds of hypothetical fact patterns of what might happen. I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to be right that that's exactly what this is going to be used for. And my question to the legislators who might be tempted to pass this out of committee is, do you want to be wrong? Do you want to be on the side of allowing records to be changed secretly and children to be gone without a trace, unfindable by either their family or their parent or anyone? AB 223 is just as dangerous as the rest of these bills. The legislature wants your kid, they're going to take your child with 957 and 665. They want your kid to be trans. They're going to trans that child with 957. They're going to change your child's birth certificate, and they're going to do that as easy for them and as hard for anyone to object. And that's 223. So I urge everyone to contact your legislators and let them know you are not part of this train and you're here to stop it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, for explaining it in layman's terms. I'm sure everyone appreciates that. This is what they do. They try to write language that we can't understand. They try to write language that sounds nice. It sounds kind. In my former life, as a liberal, kind person, I would have fallen for it. I would have said, of course we want these kids not to be bullied. But you have to dig deeper and see what really the intent of the legislature is to do. It's to make it easy for kids to just disappear. So let's talk about the third bill, because there's always a third and a fourth and a fifth. The third bill is AB 665. We've already discovered how they're going to take the child from the parents who won't affirm their kid. We've already talked about how they're going to hide the child. Now let's talk about how the child is going to hide themselves. Tara?
Denise. Hello, my name is Denise Aguilar from Stockton, California, and I'm here to talk to you about AB 665. This bill medically emancipates 12-year-old children and will give them the ability to leave their home and go into a group home and become a ward of the state. I think we all have to ask California legislature why they are so convinced that separating families is a route and the journey to go instead of creating resources for families for mental health. After coming off of a 3-year lockdown, our children have been isolated, and with the social media going on and the pressures to be socially acceptable, children are going to make the decision to go into an already fractured system that is the CPS system. I have been involved in this system since I was 12 years old, and it is a life-changing experience that will damage you, and the trauma will never go away. Why would we allow 12-year-old children to make these decisions when California legislature already has laws against interrogating people under the age of 26, against vaping and marketing to people under the age of 26, yet we allow 12-year-olds to make the decision to leave their loving families and go into a place where predators lie. This bill has been misrepresented to state insurance parity, that children on Medi-Cal services will be able to get the same services as children on private pay insurance. Yet there's no mention of that in any kind of fiscal appropriations hearing. Why is there no money allocated to the Medi-Cal services if they're going to expand it? What this bill does is it targets our children, and I can tell you firsthand what neighborhoods they come to first. I urge the California legislature to look at this bill and actually read it and see what kind of backlash you're going to have in the community.
Hello, I'm Tara, also co-founder of Freedom Angels, human civil rights organization based out of California. So you heard about how the state is working on bills like AB 957 to weaponize gender identity in family courts around affirmation and privacy. AB 665, as Denise said, will be heard next Tuesday on the 20th in the same committee, Judiciary Senate. What it does is it emancipates every 12-year-old in the entire state of California forever around the decision to go to a residential or group home. Our children at 12 and up are at their most vulnerable. This is where the influences of social media, peer groups, and just their own developing mental and emotional state, along with natural impulsivity, comes to a head. And this is the time where we should be building programs and fostering communication between parents and children and focusing on the mental health of children and adults, not emancipating. What emancipation does is it tells your 12-year-old that just like at 16, they have the opportunity to get a driver's license. Now at 12, should you tell them you don't want them talking to that older man on social media? Or you don't want them playing too many video games or concerned who they're hanging out with? Well, that child now knows that they can get the keys to a group home. And that sounds good sometimes when kids don't want those boundaries that you're putting up to try to help raise them and take them through their most vulnerable time. These legislators have been being deceived by the author of this bill, Wendy Carrillo, and the co-author, Scott Wiener. They have sent the bill sponsors around to the offices and told them that this is around insurance parity of Medicare with children on private pay. We know this because we've spoken to extensively to the Democratic senators who were shocked to learn it was an emancipation bill. And thankfully, we want to tell you that these Democratic senators heard as responsible adults that this was too far. It didn't make sense. The problem is we have thousands of bills that go through here, so they don't know, and they rely on the bill authors and the sponsors to give them an honest interpretation. That's where we all come in. We have to step in and show them what this is really happening. So we have fertile ground here if you show up and tell them what this is about. And I want to tell you, what you heard here today, if you were outraged, if you were choking back tears, that is the appropriate human emotion for what is going on here. And we can stop this because most people, most of humanity does not side with this extremism. They want healthy children and healthy families. And it's in our hands. If you are hearing this anywhere, in any state, you are being called to step in right now because we are late in the game on these bills and they will move quickly. We can tear up the pavement to this capital, into the districts, and stand in the gap right now for every child and every parent and tell them too far, enough. We can do this, but you've got to engage now. It's in our hands. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Freedom Angels. You are our angels. I appreciate you coming in and helping alert the legislature to the lies that are being told by these authors. I mean, it's always interesting to me that the authors of this bill, all of these bills, Scott Wiener always has a hand in it. Scott Wiener is a senator with no children. Is he here to protect kids? I'd say no. Scott Wiener is the senator with San Francisco as his district. Has anybody been there lately? It's a cesspool. So last, we're going to close with California Family Council. Greg Burt, he's going to talk about how the bills affect those of you, those of us, who are religious.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Greg Burt. I work for the California Family Council, an organization that's very concerned about protecting parental rights and religious liberty for everyone. And so I'm going to talk specifically about AB 957, one of the worst bills I've ever seen in my decade of working up at this building. This bill, as you've been told, specifically tells a family court judge that protecting the health, the safety, and welfare of a child requires that a parent affirm a child's self-determined gender identity no matter the age of the child. We're talking about 3-year-olds, toddlers, young kids who like to play make-believe. This bill requires a parent to assume a child is never confused about their gender identity. It requires parents to assume their child's beliefs and feelings about their gender identity can't be influenced by their peers, by TV, by social media, by sexual abuse, or other mental health issues. And it enforces a controversial belief that a child's biology has nothing to do with a child's sex. This bill also violates the religious liberty protections in the First Amendment. Let's read the First Amendment one more time. The beginning starts, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. There are numerous religions that believe gender and sex are binary and based on a child's biology. There is no way that a parent with these beliefs can affirm a child's chosen gender identity if it differs from their biology without violating their faith. So in short, this bill enables the state to take children from their parents if those parents want to raise their children to believe as their religion teaches. How does this not violate the First Amendment? It does. It's completely illegal. This needs to be the hill all parents figuratively are dying on. We are not going to let our kids be taken away by the state for simply teaching them to believe what their faith tells them. And that's what this piece of legislation is doing. Thank you so much.
Hey, Greg. What room? What room? I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank everyone for listening. And anyone out there, if you are silent, if you stay silent, if you just shake your head and do nothing, you are complicit. We need you. We need everyone to stand up because you know what? We have the truth on our side and there's more of us who want to protect our kids. And don't think that this doesn't touch you. It touches every single Californian. It touches every American, all of us. So please stand up. We're going to move over to the Annex building, which is 1021 O Street. We're going to have our hearing. And I would like you to look at all those lawmakers in the eyes. Make sure they're watching you. Make sure they see us. Make sure you let them know that you're a Democrat, that you're a lesbian, that you're religious, that you're a mom, that you're a sister, that you're a mother, that you're a father, that you're a brother, that you're a teacher, and you say no. Let them know. It's all of us together. We're unified in this fight. Thank you so much.